Wait, you're telling me you speak Mandarin? The CEO's laughter echoed through the restaurant. The young waitress froze, one hand gripping her order pad, the other trembling near her apron. She didn't answer right away. She just looked at him, then at the group of executives around the table, all smirking, waiting for her to shrink. "Tell you what," he said, sliding his black credit card across the table. $500,000 says you can't say a single real sentence. The room went quiet, except for the sound of clinking glasses. Everyone was watching her now. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks, the same heat she'd felt 100 times before, whenever someone assumed she was less educated, less worldly, less worth listening to. She took a slow breath, straightened her name tag, and finally met his eyes. "I can say more than a few sentences," she said calmly. The laughter stopped. What happened next would change not only how everyone in that room saw her, but how the entire company viewed the people. They thought they already understood, because what the CEO didn't know was that the quiet woman serving him lunch that afternoon once studied international linguistics, and she had been waiting for the right moment to remind the world that respect isn't something you earn through power or money. It's something you give through humanity. "I'll give you $500,000 if she says more than 2 words in Chinese." The laughter that followed was loud enough to turn heads across the restaurant. It came from a man in an expensive grey suit, his gold cufflinks catching the light like a challenge. His name was Richard Caldwell, a 42-year-old tech CEO known for arrogance as much as success. He leaned back in the leather booth, smirking at his friends from the investors' table. Across from him, quietly refilling glasses, stood Amara Lewis, a 28-year-old black waitress with soft brown skin, natural curls tied neatly under her cap, and a calmness that didn't match the chaos around her. She'd been working double shifts at Golden Pearl Bistro, an upscale fusion restaurant in downtown Chicago, trying to cover her younger brother's medical bills. "Did you hear that?" one of Richard's friends whispered loudly enough for her to catch. "He said she couldn't even pronounce the word for hello." Amara's hand froze mid-pour. Her expression didn't change, but her pulse quickened. She'd dealt with this kind of humiliation before, quiet mockery wrapped in polite laughter. Usually she ignored it. But tonight something about the way they looked at her, like a joke dressed in skin, hit differently. "Sir," she said softly, setting the pitcher down. "Would you like me to bring the check?" Richard smirked. "Only if you can ask me that in Chinese." His friends laughed again, the sound bouncing off marble walls and polished glass. For a second, no one moved. The music from the bar hummed low, and every conversation in her section seemed to fade out, waiting for what would happen next. Amara's heart thudded in her chest. She'd promised herself never to draw attention, never to react. But she wasn't just a waitress. She had spent 2 years studying Mandarin at the University of Chicago before dropping out when her mom got sick. She hadn't spoken it in public since. Still, the challenge lit something in her. She took a slow breath, lifted her chin slightly, and met Richard's gaze. Her voice came out steady, lower, firmer than she expected. "Do you always bet money on people you underestimate, or just the black ones?" The table went silent. The laughter died in a heartbeat. Richard's jaw tightened. His friends shifted awkwardly. I was just joking," he said, but his tone had already changed. "Right," she said. "A $500,000 joke." Someone at the next table glanced over. Another whispered, "Is this for real?" Amara didn't move. She just stood there, still and scented, her dark eyes locked on the man who thought she'd crumble. Richard forced a chuckle. "Fine. Go ahead then. Impress me." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, like a man about to enjoy a magic trick. The words rolled off her tongue before she could second-guess herself, smooth, natural, and fluent. But she didn't just say 1 or 2. She strung together a full sentence, then another, fast, confident, clean. Every syllable crisp, every tone perfect. The expression on his face shifted from smug to stunned. The bartender froze mid-shake. The hostess stopped at the podium, eyes wide. Richard blinked. What did you just say?" She tilted her head slightly, her voice even. "I said, you should never measure intelligence by color, and you should never bet on ignorance." A few tables away, someone actually clapped once before realizing how tense the air had become. Richard's friends avoided eye contact. His own smirk had vanished completely. For the first time that night he looked uncertain, not because of her language, but because of what it revealed about him. Amara stepped back, her hands steady, her face unreadable. The restaurant had gone silent again, but this silence was different. Heavy, watching, waiting. Richard cleared his throat. "That's impressive," he said, his voice stiff. "You studied?" She nodded once. "Yes, at a university your company once refused to fund because you thought language programs were a waste of investment." Someone coughed. His friends exchanged glances, pretending to check their phones. Amara turned to leave, but Richard's voice stopped her. "Wait," he said, softer now. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" She hesitated, then looked back at him. "My mother used to tell me," she said, "you never know who's listening when you insult someone." Then she walked away, her apron swaying with each step. Richard watched her go, his reflection in the glass catching the faintest flicker of discomfort. The man who bet $500,000 had just lost something far more valuable, his pride. But what Amara didn't see, what no one in that restaurant saw, was the man standing quietly at the bar, recording the entire thing on his phone. He wasn't just any customer. He was a journalist. And by morning, her face would be everywhere. The video hit the internet before sunrise. At first, it was just a 30-second clip, shaky phone footage posted by a local blogger with the caption, "When arrogance meets fluency." Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Millions of views, thousands of comments, hashtags everywhere. The short clip showed Amara standing beside the table, her expression calm as marble, while Richard Caldwell, billionaire CEO of Caldwell Dynamics, smirked and said, "I'll give you $500,000 if she says more than 2 words in Chinese." Then came her reply, smooth, clear Mandarin rolling off her tongue like music. The moment he froze mid-sentence, the look of disbelief on his face. That was what people couldn't stop replaying. News anchors debated it. Podcasts dissected it. Influencers called it the moment that flipped the power dynamic. But for Amara Lewis, the waitress at Golden Pearl Bistro, it wasn't a moment of glory. It was chaos. She woke up that morning to over 100 missed calls. Her phone buzzed so hard it fell off the nightstand. Her brother Jamal called first. "Amara, you're on Good Morning America." "What are you talking about?" She mumbled, sitting up. "Girl, check your phone. You went viral. Like viral. When she opened Twitter, her face filled the screen. The same frozen image, her looking calm and unshaken, standing in front of Richard's shocked face. The internet had already chosen sides. Amara Speaks was trending. Some praised her for standing up to power. Others mocked her for embarrassing a wealthy man. By noon, reporters were outside the restaurant. Her manager, Victor, looked pale when she walked in for her shift. "Amara, we can't have you here today," he said, his voice trembling. "There's media all over the sidewalk," she frowned. "It's just a video. I didn't ask for any of this." "I know, but Caldwell Dynamics called this morning. Their legal team reached out. They said your comments were defamatory." "Defamatory?" she repeated, disbelief flooding her voice. "He insulted me in public." Victor lowered his eyes. "They have power, Amara. We don't. Just go home for a few days. Let things cool down." She looked at him, the betrayal sharp and familiar. She'd seen this before, when her mother's company laid her off after she complained about discrimination, when her brother was followed around a store for looking suspicious. She took off her apron, folded it carefully, and set it on the counter. "I didn't do anything wrong," she said quietly. Victor didn't meet her eyes. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't protect you. When she stepped outside, the flash of cameras blinded her. Voices shouted over one another. "Amara, did you humiliate Mr. Caldwell on purpose? Are you using the language thing for fame? Is it true you were fired?" She pushed through the crowd, her heartbeat hammering in her throat. That night, alone in her small apartment, she watched the news coverage. Richard Caldwell's face filled the screen. He looked polished, unbothered, sitting in front of a blue background with his company's logo behind him. "I regret that a light-hearted moment was misinterpreted," he said smoothly. "I have great respect for diversity and talent across all backgrounds." It was the same kind of apology powerful men gave when they weren't sorry. Then he smirked slightly, adding, "But let's be honest, it's hard to believe anyone could speak perfect Mandarin without extensive training in China." Amara stared at the TV, her hands trembling. He'd turned it around, again. The comments online shifted immediately. Some defended him. Others accused her of faking the language. One video stitched her clip with fake subtitles, claiming she had only memorized a few phrases. By morning, she wasn't trending for inspiration anymore. She was trending for controversy. Her brother texted her a screenshot of a news headline, "Waitress or fraud? The internet divides over viral language showdown." That one broke her. She sat at the kitchen table, her untouched coffee turning cold, and whispered to herself, "I shouldn't have said anything." But deep down, she knew silence was what people like Richard counted on. Later that afternoon, her phone rang again, this time an unknown number. She almost ignored it but picked up anyway. "Miss Lewis?" a calm female voice said. "This is Mei Zhang. I teach Mandarin linguistics at Northwestern University." "I saw the video." Amara hesitated. "I'm sorry, Professor, I just wanted to say your pronunciation was flawless. Native-level fluency. If anyone questions that, I'd be happy to confirm it publicly." Amara blinked, stunned. "You'd do that?" "People need to know talent doesn't have a skin color," the professor said. "If you're open to it, I'd like you to speak at our diversity forum next week." For the first time in days, Amara smiled. It was small, uncertain, but real. "Thank you," she whispered. After the call, she scrolled through her social feed again. Buried under hateful comments, she found hundreds of messages from strangers saying she'd inspired them to study languages, to stand up for themselves, to speak with courage. Then her phone buzzed again. A new message popped up from an anonymous account. "You don't know who you embarrassed. You should watch your back." Her stomach dropped. The words blurred on the screen, her reflection faint against the glass. Outside her window, the Chicago skyline glittered cold and indifferent. The story that had made her famous was about to become something darker, something she never asked. For Amara didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that comment, "You should watch your back." The next morning, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Journalists wanted interviews. Influencers wanted collabs. Everyone wanted a soundbite, a reaction, a headline. But she stayed quiet. She made tea, scrolled through the noise, and wondered if silence might make it stop. By noon, someone knocked on her apartment door. At first, she thought it was a neighbor. Then she saw the silhouette through the peephole, tall male wearing a suit. A black sedan idled on the street behind him. When she cracked the door open, the man smiled tightly. "Miss Lewis?" "Yes?" He handed her an envelope. "A message from Caldwell Dynamics." Before she could reply, he turned and walked away. Inside the envelope was a cease and desist letter, bold, official, and cold. "You are hereby instructed to refrain from making any public statements or media appearances that could damage the professional reputation of Mr. Richard Caldwell or Caldwell Dynamics Incorporated." She read it 3 times before setting it down. Her hands were shaking. They were trying to silence her. Again. She picked up her phone, scrolling to her contacts, then stopped. Who could she even call? A lawyer. She didn't know one. A friend. They'd all seen the videos but didn't want to get involved. That's when her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. Her stomach twisted. The message came seconds after she got the letter. Coincidence? She doubted it. By that evening, Dr. Cancel Amara was trending. An edited video, one she'd never seen, circulated online showing her supposedly mocking customers. It was clearly fake, but the damage was done. Comment sections filled with slurs and hate. Entitled "Waitress Playing Victim." She probably memorized a script from YouTube. Another fake activist looking for fame. Her brother Jamal called that night. "Amara, listen to me," he said, panic in his voice. "You need to stay off social media. These people are nuts. They're doxing you." "What do you mean?" "Your address is on Reddit, sis. They posted it." "You have to call the police." She froze. Her breath caught in her chest. It wasn't just a story anymore. It was her life unraveling. For hours she sat on the couch, staring at the TV as talking heads debated her intentions. Even the news had split sides now. Some painted her as a symbol of empowerment. Others labeled her the angry waitress who ruined a CEO's reputation. The doorbell rang again, loud, urgent. This time it wasn't a lawyer. A woman stood outside, wearing a navy blazer and a small camera pinned to her lapel. "Amara Lewis?" "Yes. I'm Vanessa Holt, reporter with Channel 9. I'd love a few minutes to hear your side of the story." Amara hesitated. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Off the record, then," Vanessa said, lowering her voice. "You should know. There's talk that Caldwell Dynamics is hiring private investigators to dig into your background. They're trying to prove you lied about your education." Amara's blood ran cold. "That's ridiculous. My records are public." "I know," Vanessa said, "but they're not looking for truth. They're looking for distraction. Anything to make you look unreliable." Amara sank against the doorframe. "Why me? Why go this far?" Vanessa looked at her for a long moment. "Because you embarrassed a powerful man on camera. And men like Richard Caldwell don't forgive that." For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Vanessa added, "If you ever want to tell your story, I'll help you tell it right. No filters, no edits." When she left, Amara locked the door twice. That night she replayed the restaurant moment in her head over and over. The laughter, the bet, the words that had seemed so harmless to him and so heavy to her. She had no idea one sentence could destroy everything. The next morning, her brother showed up at her door, breathless. "Pack a bag," he said. "You're coming with me." "What? Why?" "Someone spray-painted on your building. The cops are outside." She followed him downstairs. The sight stopped her cold. Across the brick wall in dripping red paint were the words "liar." Neighbors stood outside whispering, staring. A police officer scribbled notes while a maintenance worker tried to scrub the paint off. Amara covered her mouth with her hand, tears filling her eyes. A few cameras flashed again. Someone was filming. Jamal turned on them. "Hey, she's not a criminal." "Leave her alone." The officer approached Amara gently. "Ma'am, do you have any idea who might have done this?" She shook her head slowly. "Just people who don't like being proven wrong." That afternoon she stayed at Jamal's apartment. He tried to lighten the mood, ordering takeout and playing old music. But even then, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The next morning, another message appeared on her phone. "You embarrassed the wrong man. Stop talking or you'll regret it." This time, the sender included a photo. Hersi walking out of her brother's apartment taken from across the street. Her hands went cold. "Jamal," she whispered. "They're following me." He looked at her screen and froze. "We're going to the police. Right now." But as they got up to leave, her phone rang again. "A new number, unknown. Amara Lewis?" A deep voice said when she answered, "Yes, this is Marcus Reed. I work with the Chicago Tribune. I've been investigating Caldwell Dynamics for months. I saw your video, and I think what's happening to you is connected to something much bigger." Her pulse spiked. "What do you mean?" "Richard Caldwell's company has been under federal scrutiny for overseas money transfers. Your confrontation might have exposed him in ways you don't realize. If you're willing to talk, I can protect you and help you fight back." Amara stood there, phone pressed to her ear, trembling. Outside, rain hit the windows in steady rhythm. Inside, her world was falling apart and just maybe beginning to change. Amara hesitated before answering. Her heart was still pounding from the message. Someone had been watching her, following her. But Marcus Reed's voice carried something different. Calm authority. "I've seen how Caldwell Dynamics handles their enemies," he said. "They discredit, intimidate, and erase. You're not the first." Amara swallowed hard. "And you think this is about, what, me speaking Chinese?" He paused. "No, I think that video ruined the wrong cover." She frowned. "Cover for what?" "Caldwell's been running overseas tech contracts through shell companies in China," Marcus explained. "I've got sources that say he's been laundering money under the guise of language education grants. When you mentioned his university funding during that viral clip, you might have hit a nerve you didn't know existed." Amara went still. She remembered the moment and when she'd said, "You once refused to fund language programs." It was a throwaway jab. She had no idea it connected to something real. Marcus continued, "They've been silencing whistleblowers for months. If they think you could expose them, you're a target." Her voice trembled. "So what do I do?" "I can meet you tomorrow," he said. "There's a safe cafe in South Loop. I'll explain everything." The call ended, leaving Amara staring at her reflection in the dark window. The city lights blurred like watercolor streaks. Jamal came up behind her. Who was that? She told him everything. He exhaled slowly, pacing. This is insane. You were just doing your job, and now... I know. She cut him off gently. But maybe I can't hide from it anymore. The next morning, the cafe smelled like roasted beans and rain. Marcus was already there. Tall, late 30s with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and a voice that carried quiet confidence. He slid a folder across the table. Caldwell Dynamics has offshore accounts. Some of them match education funds tied to universities here, including the one you studied at. Amara flipped through the pages. Wire transfers, documents in Mandarin, one file stamped confidential. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Because your video gave me proof he's lying publicly. He can't claim cultural inclusion when he's exploiting the very system he mocks. She frowned. But what does that have to do with me? Marcus leaned closer. Because you're the first person to ever stand up to him on record and win. That makes you dangerous. Amara looked at the papers again, her stomach twisting. She had never wanted fame. She just wanted respect. Now she was sitting on evidence of corporate crime. Marcus continued, lowering his voice. If you testify, I can connect you with a federal contact. But you have to be ready. They'll come after you harder than before. Amara shook her head. I'm not a whistleblower. I'm a waitress. He smiled faintly. Not anymore. Outside, rain turned into a full downpour. When she finally left the cafe, she felt like everyone on the street was staring at her. A black SUV passed by slowly, its tinted windows reflecting her image. That night she got another call, this time from a blocked number. Miss Lewis, a man's voice said smoothly. You've been meeting with journalists. Not wise, her breath caught. Who is this? Someone who can still protect you, the voice said. Richard Caldwell would like to make this right. There's a settlement, $500,000. The same number from your little bet. She went silent. Take it, he continued, and this all goes away. No more threats. No more chaos. Just money and silence, her pulse thundered in her ears. You're bribing me. We're offering peace, he corrected. You've already been painted as unstable online. Do you really want to fight a billionaire? She ended the call without another word. Her brother found her sitting on the floor staring at her phone. What happened? They offered me hush money, she whispered. Jamal's jaw tightened. And you're not taking it, right? She looked up at him, eyes full of conflict. It could fix everything. The bills, the rent, your college. Amara, that's their plan. They ruin your name, then pay you to disappear. Don't give them that. She pressed her hands to her face. I don't know if I can do this, Jamal. I didn't ask to be a symbol. I just wanted a normal life. He crouched beside her. Mom used to say, dignity doesn't pay rent, but it feeds your soul. You already started something, sis. Don't stop now. The next morning, Amara met Marcus again. He was tense this time. They know I'm helping you. I've been followed too. Her stomach dropped. What do we do? He handed her a flash drive. Everything you need to expose them is here. Financial records, fake charity names, offshore routing numbers, all tied to Caldwell. If anything happens to me, this gets published. She held the tiny device like it weighed a ton. What happens if we go public? Marcus met her eyes. Then you're either a hero or a headline they try to bury. As she walked home, the city felt heavier, like the air itself carried secrets. Every car that slowed near her made her flinch. That night she sat at her desk, staring at the flash drive. Her reflection stared back, tired, scared, but resolute. She opened her laptop, inserted the drive, and began reading through the files. Bank logs, tax evasion trails, internal memos, her university's funding rejection letter, signed by Richard Caldwell himself. Then she noticed one document she hadn't seen before, a private memo titled Project Silk Path. She clicked it open, her screen filled with foreign contracts, Mandarin documents, and one name highlighted in red, Mei Zhang. Her eyes widened. The same woman, the professor who had supported her, who'd invited her to speak at the diversity forum, but this file said otherwise. It listed her as a consultant for Caldwell Dynamics. Her heart raced. The professor wasn't helping her. She was watching her. She backed away from the laptop, realization crashing in. The friendly call, the encouragement, the invitation, all of it had been bait. Jamal heard her gasp from the other room. What's wrong? She turned toward him, her face pale. The people I trusted. They're part of it. Her phone buzzed again. A new message appeared on the screen. You looked beautiful in that cafe today. Careful who you sit with next time. She dropped the phone, breathing hard. Somewhere in the city, someone was watching, closer than she thought.